talking about what is bud initiation, we're referring to when the plant sets up buds to develop for the following year. The size, the strength and the abundancy of the buds also helps us to determine the potential yield for the following year. So this is also really important to consider your own crop's personal cycles. So different crops have different bud initiation times. So for example, deciduous fruit trees begin their bud initiation when leaves start to form.
So nutrition is really important at bud initiation, because a tree, through that fruit development phase, which is depending on the tree crop, it could be in November, December or January, it's going through a phase where it's trying to grow a piece of fruit or expand cells. So key nutrients which are important through the bud initiation stage is some things that are sort of forgotten in the back end of season, which are some of your trace elements, things like boron, manganese, zinc and copper, things like that, because too often we're focused on those major growth elements to try and grow the cell, but without those other trace elements, this is where some of that biennial bearing comes in. So calcium's role in the plant, it's one of those foundational blocks which really helps build cell integrity. It's very important in most steps of the actual plant physiology throughout the growing season. So it's very important to have calcium present, particularly through growth and also that reproductive bud initiation phase.
Biennial bearing or on-year off-year is usually caused when there's an imbalance in your nutrient management. So in a heavy year, you have all your crop's energy being pushed into producing that current crop for the year, and you're usually loading your tree up with vegetative hormones such as nitrates and potassium. And so what this means is at the end of the season, you have very little energy left in reserves to initiate bud development for the following year, resulting in a lighter crop. So this cycle can easily be broken in on the heavy year, so we can incorporate reproductive nutrients and just ensure a more balanced nutrient system throughout the season.
Trees generally have two different bud types: reproductive buds, which form into flowers and ultimately fruit, and vegetative buds, which form leaves or shoots. During bud initiation, it's very hard to figure out which buds are which. You can't usually tell until later on in the new season, in spring, when the buds begin to swell. What you'll find is if you cut the buds open, vegetative buds will have greenery in them or leaves in them, and flower buds or reproductive buds will have little flowers inside them. Cutting buds open also will help you to count how many buds are reproductive versus vegetative, which can in turn give you an indication of crop load for your coming season. To estimate crop loads early in the season, we generally cut buds open to determine if they're floral or reproductive buds versus vegetative buds. You can then do estimations on how many buds per tree and count back to trees per hectare, equaling hopefully tonnes per hectare. Maximising photosynthetic process during bud initiation is not too dissimilar to any other part of the growing season. It's all about making sure you have nice big leaves or big solar panels, and to do that we need to make sure we test the leaves and make sure we've got all those trace elements perfectly balanced up. So quite often during bud initiation we're focusing on the major elements for sizing of fruit, such as our potassium, but we really do need to make sure we cover off on some of the other trace elements. Trace elements that are important during this time are elements such as boron, zinc, manganese, iron and copper. The addition of seaweeds or fish or kelp during this time can help provide a whole swag of other trace elements such as selenium, beryllium, lithium, and all these small elements which we quite regularly overlook in our nutrition planning.
Maximising photosynthetic processes during bud initiation means that we get more energy. It means our buds are more abundant, stronger and larger, and can be influenced through the overall size of the leaves and the overall abundance of how many leaves you've got. And a higher leaf surface area has also been linked to a stronger bud initiation.
When you look at a leaf, it's really like a solar panel, which is drawing the energy from the sun and converting that energy or that energy source into sugars, which move into the fruit and into the plant to grow. So I'll give a quick brief overview of energy supply within the plant. So effectively we've got our roots, which obviously are attached into the soil, and they're feeding water. So they're bringing water up into the plant. We have our leaves, which are taking in the carbon dioxide, and together with the actual sunlight, which we've got lovely today, we've got some great photosynthesis taking place. So when those two couple and combine, they're taking the water and the carbon dioxide, they're turning it into oxygen. Some of that's actually released back into the atmosphere, and then the other parts of that is it transforms into sugars, which the plant can actually use to help maximise its photosynthetic production, which then goes into the fruit or into the vegetative sinks to grow leaves and shoots in the plant.
Bud initiation itself is a reproductive process, but being that it's happening during the fruit fill stage, which is a vegetative process within the plant, it is very important to make sure we have our nutrients all balanced out. Things such as nitrates we need to be converting away as quickly as possible so that we have the most effective bud initiation without compromising our fruit fill period. Leaf testing during bud initiation is extremely important to ensure that our plants are completely balanced.
Calcium's role in this period is very important, as we've spoken about, but not a lot of people probably understand that calcium does have a dual function. It's both can be reproductive or vegetative, or auxin or cytokinin dominant. So it does have a dual role within the growth and the actual reproductive cycle. So it's very important, no different than cell integrity and the ability to help cells have stronger walls. It also is a strong growth element which will help with leaf and shoot extension as well. So as a grower, it's really important to understand when bud initiation is actually taking place in the crop, because you can actually influence how that goes. So we're trying to actually reproduce as many buds in that bud initiation phase to grow some productive fruit for the following season. So if we know that we can influence it with the correct balanced nutrients at that key time, we know that we'll have a better crop outcome the following year.